Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Welcome to the next installment of Sauce Lab's Hot Sauce Release webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can reduce toil and boost your engineering efficiency through our centralized data and insights that help simplify your debugging process. I'm your host today, Mike Baldani. I'm on the product marketing side for error reporting, and I have my esteemed colleague, Peter Show, on the product side, who will be talking about some capabilities around error reporting and also providing a short demo later on in the session. So just a brief summary of what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about why software bugs matter, why debugging sucks for your engineering team, right? The toil that it causes, how Sauce Labs can help simplify your debugging process, and then we'll kind of give an overview of some of the new capabilities that we've recently released that help take the toil out of your debugging. You know, bugs and errors certainly matter, right? Especially today in the software world where everything is driven by software. People are using it every day to do work, to transact business, to buy things, etc. And here are a few stats, and I'll start at the bottom first because the bottom two lead to the top, right? So first of all, there's a report out there around churn. Like 62% of the folks that answered the survey said that they would uninstall an app if they constantly experience crashes or freezes or errors, right? Now, those folks have friends who may be using the app, right? So those people talk to their friends. Now you're leading down a damaged reputation path, right? So 44% of those users surveyed say that they will actually tell their friends about a bad digital experience. So now you're having trouble keeping people on your app. You're having trouble getting new people on your app, right? And that leads to the top. It's lost retention and lost revenue. You know, there's a report out there that says increasing customer retention by 5% can actually help increase your revenue by 25 to 95%. But not if your app isn't working. You're not going to retain those customers. Now you have to work even harder to not only try to retain those customers, but also get new customers. And getting new customers is more expensive. So bugs do matter. And they matter not only to your business and your bottom line and your users, but they also matter to your development team and your engineering team, right? Because the toil in fixing those bugs just sucks, right? You know, developers today love to innovate and they just do not like having to fix bugs, right? In fact, 60% of developers in a recent survey said that they spend 25 to 50% of their time finding and fixing bugs. That's a lot of time because now that leads to those developers saying that they're spending too much time fixing bugs, and that's taking away from doing the thing that they really love doing, which is innovating and building features. And then those folks who have to do the debugging get frustrated. Another recent survey, these developers say that the manual processes makes them frustrated and overwhelmed, right? We need to make it as easy as possible and as quick as possible for these engineers to go in, find and fix those bugs so that they can go back to innovating, delivering good quality software for their customers. But the processes today are difficult. Collecting all that data is very difficult, and it's frustrating as hell for these folks. So let's take a brief pause here and let's do a couple of poll questions. Tell us about the time spent that you and your team spend finding and fixing bugs. All right. Interesting. Yep. So majority is 20 to 30. Yeah, it's about fits right in. That's still interesting. Great. So let's do the next question. What's the worst part about debugging or finding crashes? All right, let's see the results. Trying to reproduce the error. Peter, that's great news because what we're going to show later in the session today. That's great. Low quality data. Yep, understood. Awesome. Very good. Thanks for everybody for participating. All right, let's move on. So when you think about bugs and you think about testing, right, we at Sauce Labs look at testing in three different ways. One is the traditional process where folks are doing manual and automated testing. They're trying to get as many bugs as they can found and fixed before they release. The problem is that development process takes so long. It's taking forever to release features and value out to your customers. So we need a quicker way. The other thing about doing it the traditional way is trying to find that 1 in a million bug that could cause havoc later on is, again, really expensive and it takes a really long time. Moving down to the traditional and mobile web. So we've got organizations today right? Now more than ever, not only building software for web, but also building software for mobile. And that introduces a set of complexities and microservices. But the nice thing is with the testing that's evolved is not only are you testing while developing that software, but you're also able to release those features to a specific set of cohorts or beta testers to kind of bang on that application, find and report bugs, and it lets you release higher quality software sooner. So not only is your software development process shorter, but it's also a little bit higher quality. And now you're also delivering that innovation or those features to your users sooner or faster, right? So your velocity is going up, which is great. And then the third method that SOS is really believes in is this modern continuous delivery, right? Where you're constantly improving the quality of your software, whether you're testing during the software delivery process, whether it's through beta testing and then you're releasing, but then you've got the error monitoring in production in place, right? So you've got everything completed from A to Z around making sure that you're delivering software to your users in a continuous fashion. Plus, it makes it just easier and less expensive to find that one error that could cause havoc, right, and crashes. We know, again, software delivery is not easy, right? We know everyone is being pushed to move quickly. Teams are being pushed to move quickly and innovate fast and get stuff out to their users. And we know that there's an acceptance of some kind of percentage, small percentage of escape bugs. And what is right? It's really based on your company, your industry, your users, but there is a sweet spot out there. It certainly can't be zero. It's just way too expensive. The costs will get out of control, but you'll also never deliver anything on time. And your customers would have gone to other competitors and you'll pretty much be irrelevant in the marketplace. It also can't be releasing software with all the bugs in it because no one's going to use your stuff because it's just going to be painful. And that could put you out of business. But there is this percentage, whether it be 10%, 15, 20% of bugs getting out into production. And that's fine as long as you have the right solution to make sure that you can deal with those bugs out in production later on. When you look at Sauce Labs platform for test, it is an extensible platform. It's scalable, it's secure. It integrates with all the different tools that your engineering development teams use today, so there's nothing new to learn. And we address various use cases around testing from functional for mobile and web to visual, making sure that images are populating correctly, app distribution, and then crash and error reporting, as well as other use cases. On top of this is the critical area around analytics and data and insights. You need to have that information in one place so that you get the insights and the visibility to truly understand what's happening with the quality of your software and be able to take actionable decisions based on that data. And centralized data is critical to this, right? Without centralized data, you have limited visibility from the different tools and frameworks. Your test data is living in various places across the software delivery lifecycle, and that causes inaccuracy or error-prone tests. That causes delays. So by centralizing your data in one place, you're able to surface information from every workload cohesively. You have that critical visibility across your continuous quality program. You have the right information that gets you to the root cause faster for errors and crashes and bugs because you have the full context across the development cycle. Pete, I'm going to hand it over to you.
So for the need for crash and error reporting, essentially teams have started working on from development into testing phases. The magnitude of errors you might get are in the hundreds, relatively manageable over the course of your development time. But suddenly when you release to production with your millions of users, people have seen millions of errors come into their system at a monthly, weekly, or even more extremely a daily cadence. So that is obviously untenable for any development team to triage and debug on a scale of that magnitude. So you really need some sort of tooling to help you facilitate what errors you should be fixing and how to actually fix those things. So for error reporting at our company, we are able to provide you a sort of user experience that helps you determine which of the errors that you should be fixing, helping you save a lot of time and figuring out which errors are actually important for your user base. So now you're talking about getting it down from that millions of errors down to maybe the 10 or so that are actually impactful for your entire critical flows of your application. And then from there, you can kind of carry it from your development all the way into your production lifecycle by sort of identifying the key flaws and cycling it back in between those two when you're doing new releases, as well as with our sophisticated alerting system. You're able to sort of proactively determine, do I need a hot fix or do I need to roll back a release when you start to see those errors creep up? So for our solution, we have pretty broad support across the board, the typical web and mobile use cases, but we also get native code in there with PCs and servers, and we even have support for game consoles. So very wide range of support for our solution here. And just to highlight some of the stuff that we're releasing for web, session replay allows perhaps various teams triaging that maybe not have don't have the technical capabilities of like walking through the entire code or call stack to sort of just get a visual recreation, almost video-like, to sort of see what the error is before they send it off to the engineer to sort of determine whether it's just specific with that user or if it is actually something wrong with the flow of the app. Additionally, we have more support for just the JavaScript packages. So JavaScript, TypeScript, Node, Next.js, Electron, React, you name it. We have support there, and we can even broaden it out to other frameworks as well as needed. In general, the way that we sort of think about it is we're really trying to drive down the time it takes for you to detect an error, as well as the time it takes to resolve those errors that you actually find are important. So we can sort of see that it helps develop a lot of confidence, such as like the fact set example, where we actively help them trim down what errors they need to solve for and gives them a little bit more confidence that what they're releasing is actually what they want. This is our product called Backtrace or sauce error reporting. So what we sort of expect is teams to sort of see these two giant numbers here at the top, error-free users or error-free launches, sessions. So this would basically tell us how many unique users have actually experienced an error when using our application. Or if I, for instance, log in 5 times, those would each be counted in the application launches section. So you can see that for us, 97% with this app and 92% in terms of the session count. So for any organization, you may use this as sort of a baseline, like, hey, we don't want to be below, or we don't want to be above 5% error rate for each of our unique users. And you sort of use that traditionally. For this sort of analysis here, we can see that one of our versions, 2.1.0, is extremely buggy. And in this scenario, since this is an outdated version, maybe we would consider removing that version from our release schedule and focusing more into the 3.0s where we have less errors. Errors are great. Maybe you want to think more about the criticality of them. So we actually have the option to just search by crashes where someone actually had to be exited out of the application. Our numbers look a little bit better, of course, because crashes are a subset of what we've sort of seen. And for here, we can sort of then determine what is the appropriate metric for actual crashes. So for customers that have millions of users, expecting a increase in like 0.1% is pretty normal in terms of the baseline of what we're trying to drive towards. So, 0.1% is in the scope of thousands of users affected by errors, and that means real time, like how much money you could be making in terms of your customer base there. So that's very high level of what you sort of expect from an application stability. When you're driving down into the team use case, what you sort of want to see is how impactful are all of these errors that are coming in. So in this scenario, we see that, okay, I actually only had 6,800 in this period, but we see that each of these lines is in a unique error group. So essentially, we've determined that all of the errors within that group are similar. And for the top one here, actually half of our traffic seems to be coming in through this one error group. So if I was trying to prioritize with my team which of the errors that we should be fixing, actually this is the number one issue that we probably want to look at and determine if there's a way for us to sort of solve for that, and that would alleviate almost 50% of our traffic here. Just looking at this a little bit, we give a little bit of context in terms of what is maybe the error message, or what is actually sort of the root cause of some of this stuff. So in this scenario, it's a file not found exception, and we can start to kind of get where in the application that is happening and where we're trying to call that. So in this scenario, we could actually figure out why that file doesn't exist. Additionally, some workflow stuff we can add in here is if we have a Jira integration, I can immediately just assign a ticket and link that up with our system as well, and then just assign it to an individual to take a further look at it, and then have them sort of proceed with the debugging aspects. So moving into our next environment, just looking at how someone might be using the debug. So I'm an engineer, I got sent the error from the triage page. Now I can go in and sort of deep dive on what analytics I have here for how to actually solve for this issue. So right out of the gate, we highlight some of the initial attributes, so I can determine like, okay, this was actually just a local host. Maybe that's more of like a development world that someone reached this error. So maybe I would avoid looking too far into it, but I can see that a little bit about where it's happening, what browser, what system it happened in, and sort of determine whether it's isolated to those types of platforms. And then moving in a little bit, I can also just see what are some of the actions that people have taken, either by engineers putting in some certain messages, or the SDK that we provide, sort of telling you which of the click events or page view events have happened. So I can kind of grasp what the flow is, as well as having the call stack here, so I actually know what calls are actually happening within the application code. From this point, I also have session replay. So if I wanted to sort of parse through the breadcrumbs that we have here, I can sort of just review this demo and see that you can see the user action, and when they click the button, it actually caused that error to happen. So that I don't have to actually comb through all of the events. I can kind of just determine, oh, that was the issue, that button click here caused that error, and send that off to the engineer. Additionally, you can apply your source code, so you can have that link up to your actual development code and sort of side by side compare that with the call stack, as well as we also have the ability to add custom attributes, which are just different types of data points that you might want to add here, just to sort of help you determine and debug which of these errors are actually impactful.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter. And again, I just want to point out session replay within Peter's demo, right? That is a new capability within our reporting. And, when we look at the survey question around what is most frustrating about finding and fixing bugs and reproducing the error was far and above the key challenge. This capability, session replay within our reporting, actually helps with that, right? It makes it much easier to figure out what the interaction was that triggered that bug or that error. And then that way you can spend time fixing it and go back to doing what engineers and developers love doing, which is innovating, right? So again, always helping to drive more efficiency out of the kind of the painful part of development, which is debugging or finding and fixing errors. All right, so getting into the second piece here around Sauce Insights, some capability that we recently went GA with. It really is, again, bringing in all that data from the workflows and from the systems and giving you that visualization with customized reporting that helps you understand what's going on with the quality of your software development, as far as the tests, as far as the failures, where they're happening. Really does help improve your tests and build efficiency. And with this new enhanced failure analysis feature with commands and element IDs, it's now easier to comprehend since it's using more human readable text, right? So now you have better transparency. It's easier to identify the failure patterns, so you get a clearer view of the individual's test steps and commands. which leads to faster debugging, right? You can not only release quality software faster, but letting the engineers and the developers spend more time coding, less time fixing issues. And then just to wrap it up, with these new capabilities and Sauce Labs platform for tests in general, you can save time. You'll have all that data in one place for complete visibility into your software quality. We help reduce that frustration. You have the data there automatically. You get that full information and context to easily reproduce the errors and get to the root cause faster. You're going to spend less time fixing bugs and more time developing new features with Sauce Labs in these capabilities. So let us know if you want to talk to one of our testing experts. Hope you enjoyed this webinar.